focus on other news. The railway-related companies and focus today after the government approved setting up Rail Development Authority last evening. Umesh Chowdhary, the VC and MD of Titagarh Wagons, now joins in to talk about whether this development is going to impact them at all or not. So, Mr. Chowdhary, hi. Thank you very much for joining in this afternoon. Hi. That is my first question. Eventually, how would you be a potential beneficiary? Because this particular Rail Development Authority is going to focus on, on regulation of tariffs, which eventually would improve the financials, and hopefully there would be more wagon orders for you all. So what is your thought?
So the way I look at it is that if, of course, we've not been able to understand exactly the details of what this Rail Development Authority, what the clearances is, but what we understand it is basically the regulator that has been spoken to by every government or every ministry in the last almost 17 years. And if you know that Rakesh Mohan committee in 2001, way back in 2001, had actually recommended that there needs to be a regulator for allowing open access, for setting up of the tariffs, for reducing the cross-subsidization, for making the freight loading more market-oriented rather than regulation-oriented. And that is what this RDA is supposed to do. And if this is, if my assumption is correct, then I think this is going to be a game changer for the railways, because I have always been saying that the railways have concentrated in the last 2.5 years fantastically so in creating capacity. Now the focus needs to be in utilizing capacity, and utilizing capacity by the railway by themselves is not going to be feasible enough. They need to have private participation, and for private participation there needs to be an independent level playing field. So if you really put all the entire pieces of the puzzle together, I think it is going to be a very interesting thing, and something that the industry has been waiting for 17 years.
Mr. Chowdhary, how does it link back to you as a company? I mean, to wagon ordering, tendering, etc.
So it's actually directly linking to us, because if we see in Titagarh itself, in our best period when we had between 2007, 2010, 2011, almost 60–70% of our total wagon orders were coming from private sector. That had completely dried down because, railways was on one side a facility provider or a infrastructure provider to the private operators, and we know the condition of these container train operators, that they had to go through so much of issues. And on the other side, they were also comparators, so to say. So with this independent regulatory authority or Rail Development Authority coming in, I presume that the business of the rail operators, the third-party logistic operators on rail, will increase and will be much better, and that would directly mean more wagon orders.
Okay. Right now, how much is your total order book? How much is from the railways? Because last time we spoke to you, I think the total order book was 2,700 and railways was only around 100 crores.
That's absolutely right. The order book really doesn't change too much. So in January, what we had announced, and I can't give you the update, but based on the last announced order book, it was around 2,700 to 3,000 crores. But bulk of it was actually coming from the passenger segment, from the overseas subsidiaries, etc. And Indian Railway orders were not very large. So we are expecting that on one side, the Indian Railways will start buying wagons, but what will happen with this RDA is that the private sector buying will improve a lot.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chowdhary.